Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. So I know that this has been a very difficult time, very upsetting for all of us. The one thing I need these big, deep breaths today. So let's take them together. And let's really focus today on to inhale, like we're going to inhale love and we're going to inhale justice and unity. And then when we hold our breath, smile, just smile, because when you smile, it makes your cells feel happy. And we're going to exhale peace. Okay, so we're going to do that 3 times. Inhale, hold your breath, smile. Exhale, Deep breath in, love, peace, justice, unity. Hold your breath. Exhale, peace. Ha. One more big, deep healing breath for the universe, okay? Inhale. Hold your breath. Exhale, ha. Ooh. Okay. I'm ready to go. I feel good. All right. And I am so excited. I am so excited about my guest today. First of all, this is somebody who's a very, very close friend of mine. And when I close my eyes and I think about this woman, I don't know why, but I could just see us being little girls together. Because when Elyse and I together, we just we giggle, we laugh, we just get into this place of playfulness. But on the other side, this is a woman that I can have really deep, smart business. And I'm going to tell you, she is a smart cookie, my friend Elyse, very, very smart cookie. So I can have those yummy, delicious, deep conversations about business. And one of the reasons I'm so excited about this conversation today is because when I was thinking about this talk and I was really focusing about it, because it's all about the pivot, right? How we're going to adapt and how we optimize the situation that we're in. So when I was thinking about it last night, I'm thinking, well, every successful entrepreneur, that's really what they do. They adapt to situation. When the market dives, they come up with good strategies. They have it, they know how to sort of really make some tweaks and change this and try this and do this and inspire and motivate, inspire and tweak, and they come out on top. And that's what I love about this woman is that, yes, she has these strategies that are really amazing. It's like she's constantly pivoting. And I've watched her do that over the years with such grace. And not to say, like, I know she's working hard and it's so admirable. And that's why I'm so excited because I know that she's going to give us some really good tips. So Elyse Walker, she's the founder of Elyse Walker. She's the founder of Towne, a new amazing brand by Elyse Walker. And she's just a fierce woman. She's a loving friend. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's an activist. She gets out there and she really inspires people. And yes, she is a fashionista, of course, but you're going to learn from that. That's not really where her true soul is. It's sort of transformed into that place. And she's just an entrepreneur extraordinaire. So meet my friend, Elyse Walker.
Lavinia, if I think about you, I think you're the first person that ever taught me how to breathe. So it's so, of course, timely that we would start off breathing because you have, more than any one of my friends, called me out so many times. And you're like, girl, breathe, open your eyes. You're always like, girl, you got to do this. What's going on? So we've just when we met, it was as if we grew up together. We just had so much in common with family, and children, and raising, growing a career while trying to be the mom and the wife and the sister and the, everything. But we had an immediate bond. So it's my pleasure to be here with you. I am so proud of you. You never stop. Talk about pivot. You're like a spinning little machine. You don't stop. And every time I see you, I don't know what you're going to do next, but I always can't wait to see. So thank you for having me today.
All right, so we're going to get started. So every entrepreneur has their origin story. So I think your story is so amazing. And many of people won't know, but like in college, and I think even after college, you were a mathematics major. So just take us through your journey, like how you got here, your origin story.
Well, I grew up in New York, and came from a super hardworking family, grandparents that were immigrants, and very, very kind of European home, in that my grandparents actually sometimes even lived with us, and everyone was always congregating at our house. So I had a lot of influence from the different generations, and an appreciation for life and hard work. And I was taught very young that you just have to put your head down and plow through. And sometimes it's easy, and very often it's not. But you'll always hear me talk about chapters. And I've had some good chapters, I've had some hard chapters, as we all have, but each one of those chapters gets you to the next chapter. And I know right now, we'll get into this, dive into this in a little bit. This is pretty much a hard chapter for a lot of people on so many levels. So as we talk through, I'll go into my background, but the point is that this isn't your last chapter. And this chapter doesn't necessarily define the rest of your life, the rest of your career, the rest of whatever you're going through right now. It's just where you are right now, and it'll take you to the next place. All right, so grew up in New York with an amazing, loving, very supportive, entrepreneurial family. And people are always ask me, like, how did you know how to do business? And I think it would be easier and a shorter question to say, how did you ever not know how? Because my father had me filing papers in his office when I was under 10. I couldn't wait to go to work. He was in the Empire State Building. I got to go in the elevator, and I would file. I just felt so important filing. I felt wanted and needed, and like I felt like I was achieving something at a very, very, very young age. And I think that made me really, really hungry. And I worked for him. And as soon when I was in high school, my mom, my father's a shoe wholesaler. He's still in the shoe business. That man will never stop. He's unbelievable. I get some of my energy from him, but he blows me away. And my mom decided to go into become a shoe retailer. So she opened Capretto Shoes in Scarsdale, New York. It was really White Plains, Eastchester, where you were there, you tell me. And simultaneously, my aunt, also in the shoe business, opened a Capretto in Miami. So our family went from wholesale onto the retail side as well. And so then I knew a little bit about wholesale, and then was thrown into retail. If I wanted to make money, I had to work. So, and I loved being with people, and I still do. As you know, I'm right there in the dressing room to this day. But I was lucky to have exposure to very entrepreneurial, open-minded, hardworking people. So I would go to work, and I would be in the stockroom, and I would sell, and I would clean, and I would merchandise from age 14 on. And my dad just handed me the checkbook. Remember, there was no online at that time, and say, here's a stack of bills, pay them. So I really, at 14 years old, had my checkbook, and just like when I used to file for him, I'd fill it out, and he put my signature name on the bank account. So he really gave me the foundation to be taken seriously at a very, very young age. And I grew up, with my mom going to the shoe shows and started my whole career there. But it wasn't my calling. I wasn't one of those girls, and I know a lot of young women and men who are like, fashion, I have to be in the fashion business. I never crossed my mind. I was just supporting my parents and loving that I had a great place to work. And I just never thought of a career in fashion. And I went to college in New York City. I went to Columbia University. And I wound up studying mathematics because it was easy for me, and literature and reading comprehension, I always say, is my weakness. So I would have liked to have studied other things, but I always got drawn back to the math because that's where I'm comfortable. And got a degree in applied mathematics, and it was the 80s. And I thought, I'm going to work on Wall Street. I'm going to be like female powerhouse. I can't wait. I am a little bit competitive, not really today at all, but when I was younger, more competitive, I thought Wall Street is going to be my calling. And that's what I planned. And while I was in college, I came up with some crazy, people were taking internships, semesters abroad. And I just was so addicted to work, I still kind of am, that I would stay home and work. It was just so hard for me not to work with my family or work on a project. So one summer I started working on a project, and I said, I'm going to open a store in New York City. So I'd have my mom's store in Westchester, my aunt's store in Miami, and I'm going to open a shoe store in New York. It's not going to be my end all, but I'll help grow the family business. And when I graduate college, I'm going to hand the store to my mother and then go do my next thing. So I did. Somehow my mother said, this is the worst idea I ever heard. You're still in college, enjoy college. But my father and I, sometimes we get in a little trouble together, good kind of trouble. And we signed a lease. My first store I opened was Capretto Shoes. It was on Madison and 82nd Street. I was in college. I was running back and forth between the Upper East Side and the Upper West Side. And in hindsight, I would tell kids, you really don't need to rush. You have the rest of your life to work, but I couldn't help it. I just wanted to do that. And it was a tough year, but I never thought of it as tough. Oh, I should also say the stock market crashed 1 week after I opened my first store. So when people say, how do you get through these times? How'd you get through 2008? How'd you get through 9/11 in terms of business? I always say my first retail experience in fall of 87, I opened my store and the stock market crashed. And my store was on the Upper East Side. I mean, there's no worse place to be at that time than the Upper East Side during the market crash. But I didn't complain. I didn't know. I just thought, wow, this business is a little tougher than I thought. But it paved the way of knowing that, sometimes things just don't work out exactly as planned. So I opened my store, and after the market crash, a few months later, my mother at 40 years old was diagnosed terminally ill with ovarian cancer. And we've done a lot of work together on fundraising and raising awareness and funds for research, which I wound up doing a little later in life. But I wound up in college inheriting my mom's shoe store. Well, first I was babysitting. She was having treatments, and I would go to school, go to my store, go to her store on Sundays. And actually, this is a funny story. When I first met my husband, we're going to be married 30 years this summer. We were 21, and we go out Friday night, and he's like, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, oh, I'm in retail. I have to work. I have a store. So I go to work Saturday. I call him. We meet afterwards. Sunday morning, he's like, what are you doing today? And I'm like, I'm in retail. I have to go to my mother's store today. And he came with me. He's like, I'll come. So he came up in the car and sat and up with me. But that's been my life. He's used to it. He's used to retail is 7 days a week. Actually, all jobs are now 7 days a week. So I inherited my mom's store because she passed. And I have to say I felt stuck. I didn't want this. It was a project, and I was so proud of my family for being in the shoe business. I was so proud of what my mother created. She created, and I still to this day try to emulate a community where people would hang out, and sometimes they bought shoes, sometimes they didn't, but they felt like they wanted to hang out in the store. And that's how I grew up. You know, I think I got that social, try to build a warm environment from her. And, but it was hard because it wasn't my store, it was my mother's store. And it wasn't what I signed up for. And I didn't get to go even on an interview on Wall Street. And it wasn't my plans. And we said we're going to talk today a lot about pivoting, but that was my first big pivot. I had studied, I had plans, I had goals. I could see myself getting off the subway with my red briefcase if everyone else was wearing black. And that didn't happen. And all of a sudden I get my mom's store and my store. Remember, my store was just supposed to be, I was helping open a store for my mom so she could expand her business, my dad's and my little concoction. And now I have two stores. But I did what we all have to do. I did the best that I could with the situation, and I just plowed through. I worked hard. It took me years to make Capretto my own. I felt very much caught in my mom's shadow and footsteps, not in a bad way. She was a wonderful role model, but I just felt stuck in like, this is not what I wanted to do. So I did quickly see, I got to bring my babies to work. I got to be room mom. Those, there weren't, now it's the 90s. Hours weren't as flexible as they are today. It was very hard to be a present mom at home and have a full-time job. And I realized none of my other friends are bringing their baby, literally carrying them. I used to hide Ryan under the cash register and put a passy in his mouth. And he was so easy. He could just sit there all day. And so that was my first experience. And then just about when I might have been wrapping my arms around making it mine, my husband had got a great opportunity in California. And we were 29 years old. And I just had like a little birdie talking in my ear saying, this is his time. He's done so many things. And that's one thing about our relationship. We go back and forth. I give, he gives. He needs this, I need this. I knew it was an opportunity that doesn't come along all the time. And we left my hometown, my family business, my friends, my college friends, my high school friends. We left everything and we went out west, as you did a few years after me. And it was also not part of the plan. So here comes another major pivot, another major timeout, another major change. And I gave up everything and said, let's do it. And we moved to Pacific Palisades. And I had a short little break. I was still consulting it for the people who bought my shoe store. So I can't say I wasn't absolutely not working. I think it was enough to keep me sane because I had to check in every day. I checked on sales and I still helped with the buy. But I did have a 2-year break where I was with my children and supporting my husband, was traveling all the time. So it was a good time for me to be home. He was really on the road as we were 29 and 30-year-old, babies trying to work our way up in our career. So I was sitting in Pacific Palisades, waiting for one kid to finish school and the other kid to go to karate, and waiting for 3 o'clock where I take everyone for ice cream. And I just sat there saying, why is there no retail in this beautiful community up on a hill? Yes, you can drive to Beverly Hills, but it's a half an hour away without traffic. You can go to Santa Monica, which is great, but then you got to rush home because you got to pick up kids or whatever your situation is. And I just decided I'm going to open a small shop. David's traveling a lot. The kids are old enough now, they're in school. And in 1999, I opened my first 800 square foot Elyse Walker store.
I love that story. I just love it. I mean, and then there's so many things about it that are literally takeaways for everyone. because like you said, you just kept adapting and pivoting and adapting and pivoting. Okay, so now we're in the Palisades. Okay,
Yes.
so I've watched so many stores there open up and close and open up. And, you know, you look at it and you say, well, like they have a good concept. It wasn't a lack of a good vision or a lack of a good concept. But, you know, there's so much more. Like there's so much more that goes into something being really successful. You know, yes, it's the culture, the vibe, the ethos, the the clothes that are in there, but you kind of have your own little secret sauce, I would say. So let's talk about
Well,
your secret sauce in the Palisade, your strategy, because you went from, first of all, this little store to bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, and I think, you know, when I look at it, what I see is like you understood your customer because you were your customer.
mhm.
And I just see that because that's how it was for us with Equinox. Myself and my two brothers, like we understood every cell in our body knew what people wanted because it's what we wanted.
Right.
Like the essence we wanted, the vibe we wanted, the energy, the clothes, the lights, the music, the kind of,
But you saw a hole. You guys saw a hole in the market.
we saw a white space for sure. I mean, honestly, when we first created Equinox, we were all keeping our day jobs.
Right.
Like we were just opening this place up and we were going to sort of do, you know, my brothers were going to stay, you know, building and construction. And I was, you know, kind of going to stay in an executive in the cosmetic industry. But it was, we were living on the Upper West Side and there was nothing.
You told me, you said, my brothers and I got together and said, there is not a cool gym.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you created an entire genre. I mean, it really changed everything. But it was seeing that the opportunity was actually because you saw an open space and a need. But yeah, very well. I saw the same. It was the same thing. But at time when you first see it, you feel insecure. Like, am I the only one that sees there isn't a gym anywhere? Am I the only one that sees there's no retail in the Palisades? Why you think, are you going crazy or am I jumping the gun? But going back to what you're saying, I'd like to tell you a lot of great, sexy fashion things about me, but it really isn't. It's literally, I have to say, secret sauce. And I say this to every, especially young person, whenever I talk to anyone and anytime I speak, this is secret sauce for anyone, I think, or from what I've learned, is you have to be afraid not to fail. And no one wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I can't wait to fail today. No, none of us want to. Hey, I can't wait to be a bad partner, a bad mother, a bad friend. No, I can't wait to, everyone wants to be successful, but you cannot hit a home run. You cannot create Equinox. You cannot create anything unless you are going to take that risk. And anyone who has an idea or a passion or this and that, if they're scared, yeah, you should be. We all were. You look like you're brilliant on the other end, like, oh, so it's not. You have to take those risks and you have to just be afraid. You have to not be afraid to fail. And then the other part of the secret sauce is, and I hate to tell all of you, you're going to fail. You have to fail. You have to fail a few times before you hit a success. And guess what? When you hit that one, you're going to fail a few more times. And then you're going to learn from it and keep going. So my feeling of not being afraid to fail came from, one, the support I told you I had from my family, which I know not everyone has that kind of nurturing home. And yes, that part made it easier for me. Also just having a husband that really allowed me to try and do, whatever I wanted to try. And trust me, I didn't want to come home and say this didn't work out, but I wasn't afraid to tell him. So that was, the support. But more than anything, I played sports growing up, and I played sports through college. And I spent more time on a team than I've probably spent alone the first, 25 years of my life. And actually my whole life, because then I created the Elyse Walker team. And you have to, one, not be afraid to fail. And two, once you have your thing, you have to build a team. There's no timeline, at your own timeline as your growth happens, but you have to be able to take chance and risk in others. So those have been my two, things that have sustained me and kept me going. But this is the sports thing has always been part of me. And I always say this, if you are a major baseball player, the best baseball player in the whole world has a 300 batting average. That means he or she strikes out 7 out of 10 times. And he or she is number one. So think of striking out 7 out of 10 times if you're best in your field, right? So that's the thing, you have to just keep trying. And the other thing is, and this, you don't know where it's going to take you. Just because you take a job that you don't love, just because you have a boss maybe that you don't love, just because maybe you're put in a department or a division that you're like, oh no, I should be on this side of the marketing instead of this. You don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know what clients you're going to meet. You don't know what kind of aha moment you may have in the space that you didn't want to be in. I got stuck in my mother's store. I mean, I'm telling you, I was weeping and like, this is not what I wanted to do. I would bump into friends I grew up with. I didn't even want to tell them I was working in my mom's shoe store because I had my plans again on Wall Street. And you just have to plow through. There's really no bad experience. I know there are bad experiences, but if you get through them, you're going to leave and take away something that will help. If you keep plugging away, build the steps and the foundation for your next move. And you should be smarter and more secure and, obviously more knowledgeable.
Well, yeah, I mean, mistakes create an opportunity for experience.
Yeah.
So that's why we want to have experience, and the experience isn't just, oh, we didn't make any mistakes. With experiences, we learned, oh my God, we did it that way. That didn't really work out. So now the other thing is, like, the failures don't have to be like huge. Like, you didn't, even in your failures, it's not like you closed your store down and you went bankrupt. Like, you just had to, restructure a little bit. You had to repivot. You had to rethink it. You had to come up with a different plan because of the circumstances that you were dealing with at that moment.
Right.
And I think that's really the beauty, is that when we are working and we stay present and you build a big team, I feel the same way. I mean, I came into life with a team. I'm one of 6 kids. I came in with a twin. My mom had 5 kids in 2.5 years. Like, there was always a team. Like, I knew that there was no I in team. Like, that was embedded in my head. And it really does make a big difference because, and I mean, I know we used to joke about that when you would hide. I'd say, my God, Elyse, like, your name is like Elyse Walker all over the street. And everybody in the Palisades is walking around with Elyse Walker bags. And you're like not even coming out. Like, that was one of the things that I was so mesmerized by, because you really built your team up. Like, even on your website, the stylists, I mean, the stylists are out there with their picture right out in center, with what they're great at, what they love, what they think, what their favorite stuff is. I mean, you really put your people out there for them to, like, show up the best version of their self, which I think is always amazing, because I think as leaders, and that's what we are, we're leaders, when we can inspire and motivate people to be the best version of themselves, I mean, that is just, I mean, for me, that touches my heart, like, and I even, and I know you do that.
I will tell you though, that, still learning. I always say my hashtag is just warming up. So still learning, still making mistakes, still tons of needs for improvement, always more you can do in any business. But it took me time to delegate. Because when you first, I was a team player, but remember, my father made me pay the bills, do the windows, do this. It took me a long time to let someone else pay the bills, trust them with my checkbooks, let someone else do the store windows. And that came just, I think, with age and seasoning and experience. But I hit a lot of walls growing. The first 10 years of business, I was trying to do everything, and I started at around year 5 to 10, like not being able to succeed as far as I thought I could take the business, because I was bogged down maybe with, management, or I was bogged down with, it took me a long time to realize, wow, I need more support. I need more, I would say the last, like from we're a 21-year-old company, year 10 to 15 is when I really said I need to get more support, and I really need to go back to my roots and my basics, and I need to build a stronger, better team. Like, I can't be the captain and the first baseman and the pitcher and the catcher all at the same time. I need help, and that has helped us grow. And now what I see is, first of all, they always say it feels better to give a gift than get a gift. It feels that way when I see, like, my visual merchandiser is just flourishing. I mean, she's just taken the company to a whole nother level that I could never have done when I was doing the windows. Yeah, I made a cute window, but not what she's doing. And we have a COO now, and people, she communicates beautifully with management. I didn't know how to build all those teams. Remember, I grew up in a family business, so I brought people in when I could, and you can't always start a company and bring in a COO and a CFO. I get that. Trust me. It took me a long time to have that too. But once you can, and once you can trust, and once you can let other people flourish under your umbrella, it's almost like it's not even my umbrella, it's our umbrella. There's so much going on now in our company that would have never happened if it was just up to me. I didn't have the knowledge and the experience. I had the hunger. I went up to bat. I wasn't afraid of all that, but now it's been, I feel like we've built a community.
And that also is a tribute to being a successful entrepreneur, because you need to know when to ask for help. Right. You need to know when this isn't my lane. Right. Like, so often I see entrepreneurs that think that they can do it all. And I'm thinking, like, no, that's not your lane. You're better off hiring somebody for that. You're better off, or you're gonna have to get a lot of knowledge to do it, but you don't have the skill set right now. So that even shows just another check off of a successful entrepreneur, Elyse, that you can identify when you need to ask for help and get help. So now I think we need to pivot into, like, what I guess would be like the 64,000, or maybe we should call it the $64 million question now. Okay. We're pivoting in the pandemic. Yeah. In a time when I know, number one, we're in a new normal. What is this normal going to really look like? How do we comfortably talk to our clients during this situation? It's a more fragile situation. How do we inspire, teach our staff how they have to be during this time in order to grow and to help the brand, to be aligned with the brand? Because again, all of these things change a little bit. Business is not as a business as usual.
Nothing usual about business right now. Nothing. Well, I will start by saying these are unprecedented times. I mean, I've been through a lot. A lot of people have been through a lot. This was really quick, out of left field. It felt there's just so much going on. There's so much change going on. It's been a lot. And then because of COVID, we were shut down. So I have a team of 70 people, and I thought, okay, we're closed for 1 week. Then when you were going to be closed for 2 weeks, I'm like, we can absorb that. That's okay. But then when you realize this is going on, and I'm not even talking about the fear of the health fear. I mean, you're also worrying about your family and your friends and my father, and you know, there's fear. So it's not just at the workplace; it's in at home and everywhere. How are you a supportive leader? How do you keep people? So I just tried communicating with my team. I said, I've been through the crash of '87. I've been through 9/11. I've been through, these are unprecedented times. So we just started more of a community, and I felt it was a time to kind of pull back from social media. And now also with everything going on, it's just a time to listen. It's a time to learn. It's a time to make change on so many levels. But back to being closed, and it became a pivot after 2 weeks, and we realized this is not ending so quickly, right? I mean, how do you pay your rent? How do you pay your people? We receive merchandise every day of the week. Every day of the week, we receive hundreds, thousands of units a day. So when business stops, it's not like, oh, okay, tomorrow we won't get anything. We already ordered. We order 6 months out. It's more like a locomotive, it's more like a car crash on the highway where the cars keep piling up because businesses stop, but merchandise is still coming. And when we stop, when retailers stop, then we go to the showrooms and say, hey, time out, we're not open. Then they have to go to the designers and say, hey, my stores aren't open. Then they have to go to the factories and say, hey, everything stops. So it really backs up, and it affects a lot. One little store can affect a lot of people. And we're just one business. Multiply that by not only the whole country, but the whole world. So unprecedented times. But as things settled, clients started texting and saying, can you send me some sweatpants? I'm lounging at home. Can you send me, I need something to make me smile. I mean, we've all been cooking and eating so much. I think everyone said, I need a little pick me up. And we really waited for our clients to reach out to us. As you had mentioned, we've been building a strong stylist program. We have in-house stylists. It's like and we get to know you, we know your needs, we know your size. So the clients were reaching out, not just to me, but they were reaching out to their personal stylists in the store. And we work with external stylists. External stylists were calling and saying, can I come in and pull? I have a client asking me for some new pieces. Of course, they weren't asking for an Oscar dress or a wedding dress because all events were canceled. But they were asking for some new loungewear and some new little pick-me-up pieces. And it was because of our clients reaching out that we started to then turn on a little bit of the voice of first our messaging was staying safe at home and supporting our team. So we started featuring members of our team, a stylist, a buyer, a store manager, and we featured one or two a week where we'd say, what are you doing? What are you wearing? What are you cooking? What are you watching? What are you listening to? So we really tried to celebrate and feature people, we couldn't do everyone, but members on our team, one to stay in the minds of our customer, let them know we're taking a time out too. And 3, just so you could see, we're human too. We're at home, we're baking, we all put on a little weight this time, what are you cooking, and what are you, spending time with their children. And there was a lot of doggy posts, a lot of dog posts. So I thought it was it wasn't planned. It's the pivot, like, okay, our customers ready to hear from us. Let's show them a little behind the scenes what our team's been doing. And then as people started reaching out for product, we started a little bit of comfy, cozy, whatever, but not with too much emphasis on shopping because, at a time when you're watching the news and thousands and thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people are getting sick and it's scary and the numbers are growing, I don't think it's the right time to go and say, we just got these new bikinis or whatever the case is. So it was tricky. And you listen, all you can do is your best. So we tried to be sensitive to messaging, and I'm not saying we got it. Like it's a work in progress. You can just listen and do your best and learn. So then we started doing more home deliveries. Now we always do home deliveries. Over 30% of our business is home deliveries. And now it became the only way we could do any business. So imagine like restaurants could only do takeout, right? And so we just started beefing up our home delivery. And now when we get back to normal, I think we're going to be spending a lot more time. We're expanding that because we saw that we could, get by. And I think we also made more people aware of some of the services we have. So now we're going to work behind the scenes on branding, like, oh, how do we get this voice out? So I'm not really trying to talk, when I talk about this, about my business. I'm really just saying it that through the challenge of being closed, we now see so much more opportunity with our styling program and our delivery program. So that goes across the board, where I bet restaurants that never really concentrated on takeout, I bet now they're going to grow their takeout business. So this is your hitting the wall. This is your pivoting. This is what we said, not being afraid to fail, like just going up to bat and swinging the best and the hardest that you can and trying to do it with a team. That's what COVID has been for us.
Yeah, and I love that. I love what you said, because this is going to end up being a pivot that will be more into your standard of customer services.
Well, I think we're going to get, whenever there's a challenge, I always say the customer gets to win. Why? We're going to become better buyers. We're going to be better at styling. We're going to have better customer service. The timeouts, right? These challenges, it's sink or swim. So I'm going to choose to swim. So I'm going to find the avenues that did work and then work on them. And definitely things are changing. And I think entertainment's going to change. People got very comfortable at home. Everyone's working from home. So imagine all our career women and men that we just added men a year ago, that we style for work. I bet things are going to change. I mean, people are going to be even more casual. There's certainly been like a solid 10-year, possibly 20-year trend towards more casual lifestyle across the board, all industries. But now I think we're going to take it to a whole nother level. And I'll be honest, once you're in sweatpants, it is so hard to go back to clothes. So,
I think, like, if you had to say where fashion would go in the next 5 years, like, are you thinking comfy, cozy clothes are going to be like, for sure?
I do. I think it's just like work. I think more people are going to work from home. I think companies are going to re-strategize offices. Again, these are the things that seem like the end of the world when you're in them. But then once you figure out how to live through them and then pick up the pieces and grow your business afterwards, they become opportunities. So now we were fortunate. The last few years, we really, really went into a more lifestyle. We realized our stores are in neighborhoods. That's where we excel. If we can build relationships in communities. And we see opportunity getting to know people. Well, people now want to be home. They want to be home. So then we started changing. We got less and less event dressing over the years. We still have them. And let me tell you, it is so much fun. When someone has an event, it really is fun to style and dress someone for events or travel and all that. But that's all changed now. I mean, whether it's a year or temporary or whatever, but travel and lifestyle really, really will change.
Well, it's funny. I went into the store last week and shopped, and I came home and I was playing in my closet. And I was like mixing all the new stuff with the old stuff. And I was really in there. And my husband comes in the closet and he's like, And he sees, I mean, it was like a disaster. He's like, what are you doing? He goes, where are you going? Like, normally I do that before I go away. And then I pack all the stuff. And he's like, where are you going? I said, I'm not going anywhere, but I just need to feel like I'm going away. Like, I need to put on all these fun, colorful clothes. And I am pretending that I am going to Mykonos or to Ibiza this summer because I just need to have that feeling that in my heart, even though I'm going to be in Malibu the whole summer, which I'm not complaining. It's amazing. But, and those are the things that you guys do. I mean, look, I love the whole idea of you going into more of the, at home shopping and that. But I have to tell you, Elyse, one of the things I love about your store is that you go in there, you've got those big, comfortable couches. 80% of the time I walk in, I run into friends. You guys are offering me to, do you want soup? Do you want a salad? Do you want a tea? It's like, it's such a part of your community. It's like, you really feel so good in there. It's like that's my.
I'll tell you a little secret. It started when I first opened the store, but when I left my children, right, I had little kids, when I opened my store in 1999, they were like 5 and 7 or so. I always put chandeliers in my store. And why? I spend more time sometimes at my stores than I do at home. So if you're going to come to be with me, I want you to feel like you're coming into my home. And we always had to have a chandelier. And the new town stores have more pendants, I guess, because they're probably more hip right now than the chandelier. But all the original stores had to have a chandelier and had to have a couch. And then, if you want to talk about secret sauce, when we opened in the Palisades, and again, no business, there was not a lot of business at the time. There was a Coffee Bean and a Starbucks and one private school and 2 public schools and church. I knew everyone had to cross this little intersection by my store. And everyone who knows me knows I love candy. So we put gummy bears in big jugs, individual pack behind the counter, actually on the counter, and now maybe they're behind the counter of all stores. And everyone comes in and it's an unexpected snack, right? And now it's kind of symbolic with our brand, but there are gummy bears in every one of my stores. And I'm no dummy. Every day, the moms would go pick up their kids from school and the kid would tug on her and be like, can we go to Elyse Walker? They knew they could get their gummy bears. So,
but really, that's the feeling when you're in your store. Like you just feel so like, again, like you're at your home and everyone in there. And it really, makes that experience so great for everyone. And I'm sure you'll be able to do that because that's also a big part of the styling. I mean, prior to coming to your store, I was never styled like that. Like it was just from head to toe. Like, I remember the first few times. I mean, first of all, I left and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how much money I spent because I wasn't used to that. Like that wasn't my normal way of spending money, but I loved it. I was like, oh my God, I got the pants, the shirt, the jacket, the hat, all of the jewels. It was like, it felt so amazing, and the thing that's great is that then it sort of taught me also. Like, I feel like I developed my style by working with you and your stylists, because prior to that, I don't know if I really had a style. Like now I'm like, I have friends that are saying to me, can you style me? And I'm thinking,
well, that's music to my ears because really one of my favorite parts of my job is still getting in the dressing room with women. And I know there's so much talk about brick and mortar is dead. And I have stood on the top of my lungs and I will be on every panel and tell you, brick and mortar is not dead. Has it changed? It's changed. Is online super important? Yes. Is it growing? Yes. But if you can give customers a point of view and a warm place to go and great customer experience, people still want to talk to other people. And in my business, they want to touch and feel. They want to touch and feel. But if we can also give you the confidence through the years of being able to go home and mix and match without us, then we really did our job.
No, I think you guys do an amazing, amazing, amazing job because, again, you have a team that is just on point. You're that fierce leader. You keep everybody inspired and motivated, and I just know you lead with humility. You lead with kindness.
Well, thank you. On a good day, I think my team loves when I'm there, and then I think they love when I leave because I'm like a whirlwind. I'm like, did you call so-and-so? This would be good on Lavinia. Did you do this? How come we don't have that in black? We need to reorder that right now. So, but that's my job. That's my job. So.
And also when you do that, it's part of the teaching because, you know, you keep planting seeds. Oh, she reminded me that I have to remember next time to do that. You know,
I will say that that we're still a work in progress. There's tons of places for improvement. Our styling team is phenomenal and we're growing. We're building more people in the team, but we're still learning. We're adding lines. We're you know, it's the fun part about fashion. It's always changing. So we're always having to change our point of view. We need to add more of this. We need to delete more of that. I mean, right now everyone's wearing sneakers and sweatpants. We have to quickly adapt, right? But I think that everyone, some people might agree with some of what we've said and disagree with others, but I think everyone on my team would agree that there's no job in my store that I wouldn't do myself. The garbage had to be taken out. If boxes are piling up and ripped out, I'm right in there. And I wouldn't be any other place. I don't think anyone on my team would ever say, like, I'm sitting up here and like, can you do that for me? That's not my style. My parents would kill me if I had that attitude.
And I think that's what makes your culture as special as it does. Because
you're the same way. I think that's a lot of our bonding.
Yeah, I mean, because we're not afraid to get our hands dirty. We're not, you know, like, there's a part of us that we keep it real. We're authentic. And I think we love what we do.
We love what we do. I have a good friend in the business and she just always giggles because now with social media and stuff, well, I'll let you all in on the secret. I'm super, super, super casual and I'm a tomboy at heart. But because of social media, people see events and fancy and this and that. And I have a girlfriend, I speak to her almost every single morning, and she owns a fabulous showroom. And she always giggles because people think we're something we're not. And I think the same thing about you. And then they meet us, they think we're fancy or just because whatever. I have a few stores and I've had collaborations over the years with lots of Forward and website. Oh,
someone's at front door.
It's okay. I'm probably getting a package. So, but that when it comes down to it, I'll open the boxes. There's nothing really fancy. And the same thing about you. Like I actually look forward. If someone in my stockroom or anything, it's like, I need your help. I'm like, yes. I'm always like, what can I do for you? What can I help you with? And it makes me a better manager. It makes me a better buyer. If I know what they're struggling with behind the scenes. So I think that would go for any kind of business. I think you need to get in there and touch and feel and see what all your departments are doing, not just what they're excelling at, but what are they struggling with? You know, I always tell the buying team, you can't see everything in a report. You can see how much sold, but you can't see that didn't sell because it's itchy. The buying report doesn't say sweater didn't sell because it's itchy. You got to go in the stock room and you're like, oh, that's why we didn't sell that sweater, right? If you go in the stock room, you can be like, whoa, we have too many printed dresses. Your sales report doesn't say you bought too many printed dresses. You need more solids next season. You have to go in there. So,
Elyse, I love everything that you said, because young entrepreneurs need to hear this. You know, people just sometimes think because of the way Facebooks and Snapchats and all these brands, these tech brands made money so quick that everything's going to be like that. But what you talked about today, it just really, it hits me because young people need to hear this journey, you know, and even 21 years later, or really more like 31 years later, 21 years with your Elyse Walker stores, but you're still feeling, touching, understanding. You're still in the stock room opening. Like, that's why your brand has lasted all through this, because you really understand the nuances of it.
We're still building. You're building brick by brick. Again, I feel badly sometimes for young kids because it's like all or nothing. It's like 10 likes or then they get 1 million likes. How'd you get to 100 likes? How'd you get to 1,000 likes? You have to build. Yes, some things take off faster now. There's no doubt about that. But just because something's a slower build doesn't mean it won't have more longevity, and doesn't mean it won't be in the end more successful. Sometimes the faster build can be the faster crash.
Yeah.
But that would be a message I would also say alongside with you. I talk to my children about it. I'm like, you guys, you're the generation, you want something, you order it, they deliver it to your house. It's instant gratification. And yes, there's ways to use that in business that are great, but don't put the blood, sweat, and tears, put the time in. Some things don't blossom in one time of water growing. A flower doesn't bloom. Things take time. It's like a relationship. You don't go on one date and marry someone. You just keep building. And if you love what you do, I think you have a really good chance of being successful at it.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean if you love what you do that you're going to love every single part of it. You're not going to be every single thing that you do. But it's like you just have to embrace the whole journey of it. Right. You know, just know that sometimes you've got to excavate this to get the foundation a certain way. You have to, especially now, I think it's so important. We have to have more communication. Like, we need to take time to communicate, to connect to our employees a little bit more, because these are awkward times. We have to be able to massage them and hear them and listen to them and teach them. Whereas, you know, maybe a year ago, we could have been more transactional. We could have just said, boom, 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 boom.
Well, that's where those bumps in the road can make you rebound into a new direction that you would have never gone to had you not hit that timeout. Literally right now, we are in a timeout. I mean, this isn't even like, oh, I'm gonna go take a timeout away from my family, say I'm gonna go for a beach walk. This is a social timeout. This is a country timeout. This is a health scare timeout. This is a timeout for everyone to look within, look into themselves, make changes, whatever, with everything. And I know today we're talking about business, but I think it's a hard time. But I think that people, if you can pivot, if you can absorb, if you can learn, you can come out, you know, ahead or in a good place, or maybe in a new place you never even planned on before.
Yes, we just have to breathe.
Yeah, which is, again, you taught me how to do.
Just breathe. All right.
Once or twice a year, Lavinia takes me for a breathing day.
So they're really fun. Elyse, thank you so much. This was amazing, amazing. I know everyone is going to be really happy to just watch this at another time. And thanks so much for taking your time. And everybody out there, we'll see you on Saturday, and stay safe. And just
thank you, Lavins.
okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, honey. Right.